Everyone. Welcome back. Section 76 of Sambhava Parv continued. Janmejay said, O thou of the wealth of asceticism, tell me how our ancestor Yayati, who is the 10th from Prajapati, obtained for a wife the unobtainable daughter of Shukra. I desire to hear it in detail. Tell me also, one after another, of those monarchs separately who were the founders of dynasties. Vaishampayan said, the monarch Yayati was in splendor like unto Indra himself. I will tell thee in reply to thy question, O Janmejay, how both Shukra and Vishwaparvan bestowed upon him with due rights their daughter, and how his union took place with Devyani in special. Between the celestials and the apsaras and the asuras, there happened of yore frequent encounters for the sovereignty of the three worlds with everything in them. The gods then, from desire of victory, installed the son of Angiras or Brihaspati as their priest to conduct their sacrifice, while their opponents installed the learned Ushna as their priest for the same purpose. And between these two Brahmins there was always much boastful rivalry. Those Danavas assembled for encounter that were slain by the gods were all revived by the seer Shukra by the power of his knowledge. And then starting again into life, these fought with the gods. The Asuras also slew on the field of battle many of the celestials. But the open minded Brihaspati could not revive them, because he knew not the science called Sanjeevani, or revivification, which Kavya endured with great energy known so well. And the gods were therefore in great sorrow. And the gods, in great anxiety of heart and entertaining a fear of the learned Ushnas, then went to Kacha, the youngest son of Brihaspati, and spoke unto him, saying, We pay court to thee to be kind to us and do us a service that we regard as very great. The knowledge which resides in Shukra, that Brahman of immeasurable prowess, make thy own as soon as thou canst. Thou shalt find the Brahmana in the court of Vishwaparvan. He also protects the Danavas, but never us, their opponents. Thou art his junior in age and therefore capable of adoring him with reverence. Thou canst also adore Devyani, the favorite daughter of that high souled Brahman. Indeed, thou alone art capable of perpetrating them both by worship. There is none else that can do so. By gratifying Devyani with thy conduct, liberalities, liberality, sweetness, and general behavior, thou canst certainly obtain that knowledge. The son of Brihaspati, thus solicited by the gods, said, So be it, and went to where Vrishvaparvan was. Kacha, thus sent by gods, soon went to the capital of the chief of Asuras, and beheld Shukra there. And beholding him, he thus spoke unto him, Accept me as thy disciple. I am the grandson of the Rishi Angiras, and son of Brihaspati. By name I am known as Kacha. Thyself becoming my preceptor, I shall practice the brahmacharya mode of life for 1,000 years. Command me then, O Brahman. Shukra, hearing this, said, Welcome art thou, O Kacha. I accept thy speech. I will treat thee with regard, for by doing so it is Brihaspati who will be regarded. Vaishampayan continued. Kacha, commanded by Kavya and Usna himself, called into call also Shukra, then said, So be it, and took the vow he had spoken of. And of Bharata accepting the vow of which he had spoken at the proper time, Kacha began to conciliate regardfully both his preceptor and his daughter Devyani. Indeed, he began to conciliate both. And as he was young, by singing and dancing and playing on different kinds of instruments, he soon gratified Devyani, who was herself in her youth. And O Bharata, with his whole heart set upon it, he soon gratified the maiden Devyani, who was then a young lady, by presents of flowers and fruits and services rendered with alacrity, with alacrity. And Devyani also with her songs and sweetness of manner used while they were alone to attend upon the youth carrying out his vow. And when 500 years had thus passed of Kacha's vow, the Danava came to learn his intention. And having no compensation about slaying a Brahmin, they became very angry with him. And one day they saw Kacha in a solitary part of the woods engaged in tending his preceptor's kine. They then slew Kacha from their hatred of Brihaspati and also from their desire of protecting the knowledge of reviving the dead from being conveyed by him. And having slain him, they hacked his body into pieces and gave him to be devoured by jackals and wolves. And when twilight came, the kine returned to the fold without him who tended them. And Devyani, seeing the kine return from the woods without Kacha, spoke, O Bharata, unto her father thus: Thy evening fire had been kindled. The sun had set, O father. The kine have returned without him who tendeth them. Kacha is indeed not to be seen. It is plain that Kacha had been lost or is dead. Truly do I say, O father, that without him I will not live. Shukra, hearing this, said, I will revive him by saying, Let this one come. Then, having recourse to the science of reviving the dead, Shukra summoned Kacha. And summoned by his preceptor, Kacha appeared before him in a gladness of heart, tearing by virtue of his preceptor's science the bodies of the wolves that had devoured him. And also about the cause of his delay, he thus spoke unto Bhargava's daughter. Indeed, asked by that Brahmin's daughter, he told her, I was dead, O thou of the pure manners, burdened with sacrificial fuel, kusha grass, and logs of wood. I was coming towards our abode. I sat under a banyan tree. The kine also, having been brought together, was staying under the shade of the same banyan tree. The Asuras, beholding me, said, Who art thou? They heard me answer, I am the son of Brihaspati. As soon as I said this, the Danavas slew me and, hackling my body into pieces, gave my remains to jackals and wolves. And then they went home in gladness of heart. O amiable one, summoned by the high souled Bhargava, I, after all, came before thee fully revived. On another occasion, asked by Devyani, the Brahmin Kacha went into the woods. And as he was roving about for gathering flowers, the Danavas beheld him. They again slew him, and pounding him to a paste, they mixed it with the water of the ocean. Filling him long stints in coming, the Finding him long still in coming, the maiden again represented the matter unto her father. And summoned again by the Brahmana, with the aid of his science, Kacha appeared before his preceptor, and his daughter told everything as it had happened. Then slaying him for the third time and burning him and reducing him to ashes, the Asuras gave those ashes to the preceptor himself, mixing them with his wine. And Devyani again spoke unto her father, saying, O father, Kacha was sent to gather flowers, but he was not to be seen. It is plain he hath been lost or has died. I tell thee truly, I would not live without him. Shukra, hearing this, said, O daughter, the son of Brihaspati had gone to the region of the dead. Though revived by my sign, he is thus slain frequently. What indeed I am to do? O Divyani, do not grieve, do not cry. One like thee should not grieve for one that is mortal. Thou art indeed, O daughter, in consequence of my prowess, worshipped thrice a day during the ordained hours of prayers by Brahmanas. The gods with Indra, the Vasus, the Ashwins, the Asuras, in fact, the whole universe. It is impossible to keep him alive. for revived by me he is often killed. To all this Devyani replied, why shall I, O father, not revive, not grieve for him, whose grandfather is old Angiras himself, whose father is Brihaspati, who is an ocean of ascetic merit, who is the grandson of a rishi and a son also of a rishi? He himself too was a brahmacharan and an ascetic, always wakeful and skilled in everything. I will starve and follow the way Kacha has gone. The handsome Kacha is, O father, dear unto me. Vaishampayan continued. The great Rishi Kavya, then afflicted by that, Devyani said, cried in anger. Certainly, the Asuras seek to injure me, for they slay my disciple, and that slayeth with me. These followers of Rudra desire to devise, divest me of my character as a Brahmin by making me participate in their crime. Truly, this crime hath a terrible end. The crime of slaying a Brahmin would even burn Indra himself. Having said this, the Brahmin Shukra, urged by Devyani, began to summon Kacha, who had entered the jaws of death. But Kacha, summoned by the aid of science and afraid of the consequence of his preceptor, feebly replied from within the stomach of his preceptor, saying, be graceful unto me, O Lord. I am Kacha, that worship thee. Behave unto me as to thy own dearly loved son. Vaishampayan continued. Shukra then said, by what path, O Brahman, hast thou entered my stomach? Where thou slayest now? Leaving the Asura this moment, I shall go over to the gods. Kacha replied, by thy grace, memory hath not failed me. Indeed, I do recollect everything as it hath happened. My ascetic virtues have not been destroyed. It is therefore that I am able to bear this almost insufferable pain. O Kavya, slain by the Asuras and burnt and reduced to powder, I have been given to thee in thy wine. When thou art present, O Brahman, the art of the Asuras will never be vanquished, the science of the Brahmins. Hearing this, Shukra said, O daughter, what good can I do to thee? It is with my death that Kacha can get his life back. O Devyani, Kacha is even within me. There is no other way of his coming out without by ripping open my stomach. Devyani replied, both evils shall like fire burn. The death of Kacha and thy own death are to me the same. The death of Kacha would deprive me of life, and if thou also diest, I shall not be able to bear my life. Then Shukra said, O son of Brihaspati, thou art indeed one already crowned with success, because Devyani regards thee so well. Accept the science that I will today impart to thee, if indeed thou be not Indra in the form of Kacha. None can come out of my stomach with life. A Brahmin, however, must be slain. Therefore, accept thou the science I impart to thee. Start thou into life as my son, as possessed of the knowledge received from me and revived by me. Take care that on account out of my body thou dost act gracefully. Vaishampayan continued. Receiving the science imparted to him by his preceptor, the handsome Kacha ripped open his stomach, came out like the moon at evening in the 15th day of the bright fortnight. And beholding the remains of his preceptors lying like a heap of pennants, Kacha revived him, aided by the science he had learnt. Worshipping him with regard, Kacha said unto his preceptor, him who poureth the nectar of knowledge into one's ears, even as thou had done into those of myself, who was void of knowledge, him do I regard both as father and mother. And remembering the immense service done by him, who is there so ungrateful to injure him? That that, having acquired knowledge, injure their preceptor, who is always at object of worship, who is the giver of knowledge, who is also the precious of all precious objects on earth, come to be hated on earth, and finally go to the regions of the sinful. Vaishampayan continued. The learned Shukra, having been deceived while under the influence of wine and remembering the total loss of consciousness that is one of the terrible consequences of drink, and beholding too before him the handsome Kacha, whom he had, in a state of unconsciousness, drunk with his wine, then thought of effecting a reform in the manner of Brahmins. The high souled Usnas, rising up from the ground in anger, then spoke as follows: The wretched Brahman, who from this day, unable to resist the temptation, will drink wine, shall be regarded as having lost his virtue, shall be reckoned to have committed the sin of slaying a Brahman, shall be hated both in this and other worlds. I set this limit to the conduct and dignity of Brahmins everywhere. Let the honest, let Brahmins, let those with regard for their superiors, let the gods, let the three worlds listen. Having said these words, that high souled one, the ascetic of ascetics, then summoning the Danavas who had been deprived by fate of the good sense, told them these words: Ye foolish Danavas, know ye that Kacha had obtained his wishes. He will henceforth dwell with me. Having obtained the valuable knowledge of reviving the dead, that Brahmana hath indeed become in province even as Brahman himself. Vaishampayana continued. Bhargava, having said so much, cut short his speech. The Danavas were surprised and went away to their homes. Kacha, who having stayed with his preceptor for a full 1,000 years, then prepared to return to the abode of the celestials after having obtained his preceptor's permission. With this, we come to an end to this section of Mahabharata. Until next time, this is your host, Madhulika Rajahan, signing off. Stay healthy always. Narayan Narayan.